Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
A life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Yo.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Nah.
Thanks for Adam for coming and joining us again last week.
Yeah.
I know. It was such a great conversation.
It was just neat to have just to get a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know, for we're so used to talking to each other.
Yeah.
Exclusively, it's nice to hear how mental health things affect another person. What's going on in their life that it affects the most?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're I mean, you know, Jen, you and I, we're a lot of his work. You know, that are, you know, work and family kind of things. You know, with me, it's more family. Me, it's band stuff.
Yeah.
Like we have these central topics, let's say. And so it's kind of fun to hear somebody else's like completely different.
Well, and like I said last week, I thought it was fun and good because Adam and I share a lot of, you know, we both have anxiety, depression, whatever, but it's also nice to show how it manifests differently and how your attitude can make a massive difference in how it affects you as well. So it, you know, I'm glad because, you know, just like I'm glad that we see articles and stuff out there now on like, hey, just because somebody goes to work doesn't mean they don't have depression or anxiety and all this kind of stuff too. You know, the high functioning, even though from what I was reading, it's like
it's not the kindest term, but it's, still used by people, I guess, but that people who do go work or whatever, again, alcoholism is a great example because, there's been that term for years, the high functioning alcoholic, that they go and do everything that they would normally do. They just do it while they're drunk, but they find a place to where they can exist in there. I won't say thrive, but exist in that to some extent. And same with some people with depression and anxiety and just all sorts of different things. Just because somebody can go and do doesn't mean that they also don't immediately get home from work, crawl up under the covers and just curl up like an armadillo, So
that's what's cool when he talked about. He's like, don't get me wrong, I have really down days, but he's like, I don't feel the need to like sit and live in that. I'd rather talk about, and I thought that was so great. It's, it is worth talking about the difficult things because it makes the wins even better.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that part, like I think I struggle with that a lot with like, I want to be positive, but at what point are you just sounding like you're just trying to be rosy for the sake of being rosy?
Right. That's something I ran into, and I read something about that a long time ago, and I don't know if you remember this, Henno, but like forever ago, I know I talked about this on Salty Language too, like about how for a long time people were always like, you're so negative, that's not good for you. And I'm like, neither is how you're so positive, and we're both right. It isn't good to be in an extreme. It's fine to visit, but don't make your residence, in those places because, being positive all the time, sometimes that means you don't actually face things or process things you need to process and face. And obviously, if you're negative all the time, same thing. Sometimes you don't process things or face things that you need to deal with. So it is nice to, like you said, to show both sides of some of this stuff. And like I said, I just really, really liked the chat with him. And then, you and I had a really nice chat with him after we were done recording as well. So that was awesome. And we got to geek out a little bit and so that was fun too.
For me, I listen to his podcast all the time, and I know what everyone looks like, but it is always something different to be actually face to face, seeing the person's expressions and that kind of stuff, and it was nice. It just felt good. Like it made me happy and grateful that I have this connection. That's the other part about this. I love the fact that there's these people in the Miami area of Florida who I can get on a Skype call with and talk about mental health or talk about what, like the show I did on theirs, it was about everything, sex, music, whatever.
Yeah.
And I love, it makes me very grateful for, again, this medium that has brought me closer to people that for the most part, I would have never known they existed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm better for it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a better perspective on what's going on in the rest of the world and not just what's in my little bubble.
Yeah.
Well, we've often talked about, especially from my perspective, I lose focus so often and my world gets too small.
Yeah.
So stuff like this, it makes it such a difference, and it's so easy for me to kind of reach out and expand my world out a little bit more so that I can have better perspective on what's truly a big issue and what's not so big of an issue. So it's really nice to this medium has really expanded so many people's lives, especially in the face of COVID and isolation and all the other stuff. It's really made a world of difference in so many people. But Adam's one of those guys. He's just got a good heart.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah. It just it comes through loud and clear.
Yeah.
It reads very, very strongly through that he's one of those guys. He's got a really great heart. And in the back of my head, I'll completely own up to being a girl and going, oh my God, he'd be so great. What girlfriends do I know?
That's awesome.
And I completely own up the fact that I'm a girl and my head goes there. I won't do it. I don't do that, but
it's amazing how many times I've done that and never taken any action on it, because every single time I go, wow, this, and I go, you know what? I have no idea who this, right? Like who somebody's perfect match is. And every time I tell myself that, I am proven that is correct. I stayed out of it, that and then they meet somebody and I go, well, I wouldn't have seen that one coming.
Yeah.
Exactly. The most I have ever done is I have had a social engagement where I've invited 2 people, and that's it. That's the extent of my involvement. I happen to put them in the same room. If something happens, great. If it doesn't, great. I'm hands off, but yeah, that's the most I've ever done for anybody. But I have wingman before, but other than that, or digress. I can't even.
Solid policy.
Yeah. It really is, because then it doesn't come back on you, if things don't work out. Why didn't you tell me blah blah blah? Like
exactly.
I didn't know.
Yeah. They go on or maybe they go on a date and it's like just a movie, it's no big deal, and then the second one's a little more, maybe some dinner or something, and then the third one somebody like gets super honest and then you find out like, ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I heard on a podcast, I don't remember which one it was now, there was a woman telling a story about that, how she went on dates with this guy, and it was like, I can't remember how many dates in, it was a good amount of dates in, and then he started making like homophobic comments and borderline racist stuff, and she's like, before that he never said anything, but it was something about like they went out to dinner and the server they had was wasn't a good server, and of course this person made it about race rather than the fact that they're just a bad server or having a bad night, however you want to look at it, and and she was like, so that was the end of that. She's like, I really thought it was promising too. And she's like, until, he used some words that I was like, whoa, like, where did this come from? And check, please, basically.
Check, please. That's great.
Yeah. I was like, whew.
So.
Yeah. I was like, oh, man. Yeah.
That's great.
And I know that's why some people in their online dating profiles and stuff have been putting their politics or whether or not they're a mask wearer or those kind of things, because it's like, hey, look, I'm just trying to be more efficient with this. Like, let's not go on 5 dates and realize that we're on totally opposite ends of a political spectrum and just get into a fight over it, or whatever. Not that you can't be, as, Jen mentioned to us, that, is, her and her husband don't necessarily share political views at times. So it's, it can happen, but it also, a lot of it depends on, she's also mentioned that it's like, but we don't talk politics to each other kind of a thing much. And it's like, yeah, there's that. If you're the kind of person who can't, like, I couldn't do that. I could not be in a relationship with somebody because we would constantly be arguing. And I know myself well enough to know that, like, I just could not handle it. And I don't mean like slightly different. I'm talking like very opposed to, type stuff. But, so you get people doing this kind of stuff too. And, or even like the ones I've seen some where it gets ridiculous though, to where it's like, Yankees fan, Red Sox fans need not apply, like that kind of thing. Or, Packers fan, Bears fans don't bother, yeah.
That's a touch on the much side.
Yes.
But...
I'm like, listen, sports is a different, but again, sports might as well be religion to some people or politics or whatever,
Yeah, whatever you're passionate about,
Yeah.
you have someone that shares your passions,
Yep.
at least respects them and can uplift
Right.
them.
But coming from this area, I know so many couples that are, one of them's an Ohio State fan, the other one's a Michigan fan, or one's Michigan, one's Michigan State, or it's like, listen, if they can coexist, I mean, there's a good chance, because it's because we live right on the border of the two states, so there's a lot of overlap in those, those two fandoms here. But anyways, so I guess we should talk about how we've been. And
So here's the other funny thing that ties in with last week's episode that Brian had mentioned to me. I think it was afterwards, how it came about because I was on dropping loads, and afterwards I got off. I just sent a text message to Jen and Brian, and I was just like, "All right, we have a guest next week."
Yeah,
It's just
that's right. I
it
did.
wasn't like, "Hey, how do you guys feel about?" I didn't say any of it. I'm just like, "I'm bringing a guest."
Yep. Which was like, I told Heno, Jed, I was like, I read that and I was like, well, that's weird. Like, that's not like Heno at all. And it's like, I'm fine with it. Cool. I'm excited about it. But like I'm like, that's not like him. Normally is, hey, how would you guys feel about blah, blah, blah? Or how do you feel about having so-and-so over the next couple weeks or something like that? And it was just like, hey, next week, guest.
Heno just said he's going to bring a +1 to the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
extra place setting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I said it was, and it was great. I mean, we had a good time, everything. And like I said, it's not like we would have said no, because every person, any of us has been like, hey, I think we should blah, blah, blah. We've been like, okay, and just done it. So it's not, I think it would have to be a very polarizing person for us to have pause. Otherwise, I think we're pretty open to like, okay, let's hear your story. Even if they were polarizing, we might still be like, well, let's hear their story,
Could be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Today at work, I was blowing out all the irrigation, and I was at the pool, and I they have classes, and I was pushing it as far as this one class, but I'm like, I can get it done before they start. But what I didn't realize is it's like a water aerobics kind of a class, and all of the people that come to the class set up on the lawn chairs, like they come with their bathing suits on already, and which makes sense because of COVID and everything. And so basically using lawn chairs. Well, I've literally got little fountains going everywhere in this lawn, across the lawn, and I switched to the next zone, and she was in the middle of sprinklers going off and got really upset, which I understand.
Yeah.
But I said, I was like, didn't you see the little fountains going off everywhere? And at this point, there's nothing. So then she sits down on a lawn chair and starts changing, which I'm like, fine, I'm doing all the zones around her. And now she's, of course, she's telling everybody about it.
Yeah.
As this is going on. Then she starts heading to the pool. I'm like, hello, excuse me, your stuff's going to get wet. And then she starts telling me about how bad my scheduling is. And don't I know there's a class? And I said, yes, I do know there's a class. And the sooner I get this done, the quicker I can get out of here. And I'm like, I'm losing this, like right from the beginning. I'm like, I'm going to lose this one. And so I was just like, I'm losing this one anyway. At one point she's like, what's your name? And I'm like, it's not important because I'm going to go tell the general manager right now what happened. Like, I literally was like, this is a loser. There's nothing good that's going to come of this. Like, I wrapped it up. They started their class at 11 o'clock and I went right up to talk to Derek. General manager said, you're going to get some complaints about me. I'm like, I don't know what to say. It'd be like I'm sitting out there with a garden hose watering and somebody steps right in front of the garden hose and says, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, but think about it, and this is, it's both a negative and a positive, is it really affected me afterwards. And it wasn't the encounter, it's how I feel. And it's not that conflict doesn't make me feel bad. It's how I'm handling the conflict on the inside. And I knew it wasn't going well. And there was just nothing. I couldn't say, yeah, I'll be back later. I'm on a time deadline. I have to get this done right now. I'm renting a piece of equipment. It has to be returned.
Mm-hmm.
It just I can't just reschedule it.
Yeah.
And that was the part of. And afterwards, I was like, I would rather be the person that says, "Hey, no problem. Apologize. Come back." And so afterwards, it really got to me. It's like I've had a headache the rest of the day because of, and I'm pretty sure it's because of that. It's just that thing where your physical and can affect your emotional, can affect your physical well-being, and I really felt it. And so that led me to also, it's like, okay, if I am having tendency towards like a snap judgments and this kind of thing, what am I not doing? And the one thing that's been like the last 2 weeks, pretty much this month, I've wanted to go back to the gym, like really, really felt it. I need to go back to the gym, but I just keep forgetting. It's like a Sunday after work, because of football, it's pretty empty in there. But I'm about halfway into work and I'm like, oh, man, I didn't bring any of my gym stuff. Like, it's just not on my radar.
Mm-hmm. Just if there's nobody in there, just strip down and get your workout in, and yeah.
So I need to have, because I was carrying all in my backpack, which was smart because that means it's there ready for me, and that's what I just need to do. I just need to pack my bag so that it's already there. I don't have to think about it Sunday morning.
It's one of those times where it's like a good plan for success is to find ways to eliminate any chances of excuses, right? And that's essentially what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your truck, you pack your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just need to.
Yeah, just get it set up. Just throw everything in a bag and just stick it in the car so you always have it with you.
Yeah. So that way, when it happens, when I go, oh, I should do this, I can.
Yep.
There's no barriers to it. So that's what I need to do next, and because that's definitely if I'm feeling that pull, there's a reason for that for sure. And then work has been really good, but super busy. October is just a hammering month for us, and I just never realized it. And I was going to be in Jamaica in the second week of October, one of my other coworkers left for 2 weeks. He went on vacation for 2 weeks, and we noticed it. It's like, this is not a month to go on vacation, and I have vacation planned for next October. I'm like, yeah, I have to change that. There's just no way. Like, we do so much right now with the change of season from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah.
The other people that are more service related, they don't have a lot to do because people have left.
Yeah.
But it's the time where we can do stuff. So I'm getting super hammered, and it's great. Days go by super fast, feel productive, getting things done, and just I like feeling useful at work. I like going home at the end of the day knowing that it's like one step further towards our goals. So that's been good. And then music stuff's been, I had band things have been going good. We're slowly moving forward on the album. But one thing that happened is my old album that has never been finished, that I've talked about here a million times, I wanted to get back into it. And I wanted to take some of the new, because I've been learning new things working on the current band's album. And I was like, I wonder if I can apply them to this. And so I was going through my recording software, and I had to do some updates. So I had to go back through and capture some settings. And so I bring a song up, and I'm going through it, capturing, copying all the settings, and I start to listen to it. And the next thing you know, I'm massaging a little this and a little that, and da-da-da. And I stop, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. So I reach out to Danae and Dave, and because they're the other two, people that are on it. And I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about pitching this to, a company. I think they might like it because it's associated with their business. What do you guys think? And they're like, oh, I love it. And I said, yeah, I'm remixing the song. And so now I'm kind of getting into it again, which was good. And I had a really neat feeling of, I'm going to finish this and it's going to be done. Because that's my big thing with this, and I've talked to Brian about this all the time, is just this idea of, perfect is the enemy of done. It's like nothing's ever perfect. And I felt had this feeling of like, I'm okay with it not being perfect. going to be finished. But what happened was it was Saturday night, and Sharon left the house, and I'd been working on it at night, and I'd been in my headphones, and I stopped and I put it on the speakers. And then I sat back and I went, and I'm literally kind of blown away. I'm kind of getting chills because it's actually feeling really good. And that's the thing with music is a lot of times I think something sounds good, but my ears can deceive me. But if something's feeling good, that's a whole different level. And I was feeling like the emotion in the song, and she walked in and she stopped, and she usually doesn't do that. And she has a version of the song on her iPod in her car. And she said, that sounds way different. And I'm like, I know, doesn't it? And it felt real like I might get this done. Well, then I got into some things that I'm not so experienced at. And I put in a few nights, which is a difficult thing because I start to flirt with that my self-doubt comes in.
Yeah.
And last week I listened to a podcast with Don Was, who, if everyone remembers the song, the Walk the Dinosaur, right? That was not was. That's his band.
Oh, okay.
That song's a fluke. Like they're an the song, it does have an R&B vibe to it, but they're an R&B band that goes way back to the 70s. They're these guys are hardcore musicians, and Don Was is now a very famous producer. He did Bonnie Raitt's big albums. He's got and that got him into other gigs, and he's now got just incredible repertoire to point finger at. For a while there, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, you're not really popular," but and he's also brought out he's restored Blue Note Records, which was famous for a lot of the old rhythm and blues stuff. But so he was on Broken Record with Rick Rubin, and one of the things they talked about,
beautiful.
Beautiful. He was talking about playing with Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead, and how one of the things he's learned is to be fearless, and to let go of the self-consciousness. And that's when he says, he's like, self-consciousness is the enemy. And I really needed to hear that. I needed to hear somebody say, be fearless. Make the mistakes.
Yeah.
But be fearless, because the self-consciousness is your enemy. And that's, I was flirting with that with, again, doubt, like, oh, I just can't do this, and I'm no good. And so a lot of times especially with anything, when you're using one of your senses, you need to step away for a while kind of reach your senses.
Yep.
And I wasn't doing that. And so the next day I listened when I got to work, and I was ready for just garbage, but I'm like, okay, it's not bad. And every day has been, I'll do a little bit more work, and my list gets smaller and smaller. And today I literally had 3 things. And tomorrow I'm going to listen to it again with a fresh set of ears. And if I get
Uh-oh.
I know that doesn't sound like a lot.
Oh, hey, Henno, can you kind of go back? All I heard was that you had 3 things today, and tomorrow if I and then it froze.
So tomorrow, if it feels right to me, again, if it feels right, I'm done. I'm done with one song.
Okay.
And what I said was, it's not, I know it's just one, but this has been going on for 10 years almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to have one done, like literally just to go done.
I'm feeling like this is like a Buddhist moment, right? Like was it a path of 10,000 miles begins with one step, like it's that kind of a thing. 'Cause literally that's the first step.
And I have made this thing way bigger than it is.
Yeah.
But everything had to happen in its time.
Mm-hmm.
And so my potential win here, and I already feel like it's a win because I'm in the right mindset, which has been very difficult for me artistically, is to just be satisfied with what is and say, I did my best, and this is what it is, and I can accept it in this moment. And if tomorrow or 2 days from now I realize that, well, maybe something wasn't quite right, I'm going to say, yeah, but in that moment it was good.
Yeah.
And be happy with that. And then take the energy that I get from that and move it to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so much internal struggle with this because of just doubt and fear and
perfectionism.
Yeah, and especially perfectionism in light of where I don't have all the tools and I'll never be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's the worst part.
Like, it's a setup.
Yep, it is. I know exactly what you're talking about because Jen's watched me physically go through it to where I'm like, this isn't my, and it's like, and it's frustrating. Because in your head, you're like, perfect, but you're also like not understanding that you can't be perfect. And even if it turns out exactly how in your head it is, you'll find something else. Because that's what creative people do. We just find holes in all of our work. It's very rare to find somebody who's just. That's why it blew me away when speaking of Broken Record, when they had oh shoot, I can't think of his name now. From from Outkast.
Andre.
No, the other guy.
Who's the other guy?
This Big Boy.
Oh.
Or whatever. When he was talking about, remember he talked about how he does a song and it's just boom boom and it's done. And then there's where you and I talked about it, and we were like, that's insane, because we've heard so many other musicians that are like, yeah, I found this little pocket one day, and I was just digging it, and I put it away, and then like 100 years later, I was just noodling around on my computer, and was like, oh, what's this? And like, oh, that's the perfect fill for this song that, like, and it's like, it's just, it takes what it takes. Sometimes the song takes 20 years to complete, sometimes it takes 5 minutes. As I've heard, I don't know how many stories now, and it's amazing. And it makes sense, because there's times with no matter what you're doing creatively, sometimes it's just you sit down and it just comes pouring out of you, and other times you couldn't, somebody with a pair of pliers couldn't pull it out of you, like, so, and there's no sense in forcing it. Like you said, it's, if it isn't there, it isn't there. But at some point you also have to make sure you're not allowing it isn't there to be your excuse. Otherwise, you don't draw anything in years, and you get really frustrated with yourself for not drawing anything in years, and you just keep beating yourself up for it.
Yeah, well, that was one of the other.
I've heard.
On that also, that show where one artist said, professionals don't wait for inspiration.
Yeah,
they do. And I was like, that's right. And it doesn't matter what the work is. It doesn't have to be amazing, but they're doing the work. Because if you're a professional, you know how to find your inspiration. You know how to find your this or your that. And so it's one place where I'm feeling more. I'm feeling more of that fearlessness, and that's a great thing.
Awesome.
And I want to stay in that place and just keep putting in some effort and putting in the work, and the excitement of this stuff rents space in my head, whether I know it or I don't.
Mm-hmm.
The unfinished business, no matter what it is in my life, is taking up a little corner somewhere. Yeah. I know that. I know it. And to be able to take one little chunk of it and just, move it out.
Yeah. It creates more. Now you have space for whatever else
to come in. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard somebody talk about that years ago about block, creative block, and that is kind of the way they look at it. Is it's like if you run up against a block, essentially put aside what you're doing, because like you were just saying, it takes up so much of your creative space and energy that you may be deflecting new inspiration, creativity, whatever. So if you can kind of just set it aside and maybe just work on something else, that again, you know, sometimes it'll lead you back to what you were doing, you know. Like I said, you know, maybe there's something you're like, this song doesn't feel complete, and then you'll just be doing some random thing that maybe you had put aside or whatever, and you know, a sound will hit you or something, or, you know, whatever. So same with, you know, like I said, various other creativity, like doing graphic design and stuff. That I found that a lot, where when I was in school, you know, I'd hit a point where I'm like, I've just got no answer for this puzzle. Because that's how I always, and I'm not alone, but it's like that. I always saw graphic design as problem solving, because that's what it is, you know. And I basically was like, okay, you're given a puzzle. The person wants blah blah blah. You have to figure out how to put these pieces together so that it works. And there were times where you just do, you know, you just be like, you know what, like you said, it's like sometimes you just put it aside and you're like, I'm gonna go. Whatever, I'm going to go get a hot dog across the street, because the school I went to, there's a hot dog place across the street. You know, like, I'm going to just go get a couple chili dogs, and while I'm sitting there or while I'm walking over there or something, I'll see, or something will happen. You know, you'll consume something visually or whatever, and you're just like, ooh, and now all of a sudden it's, you know, you're right back at it. So it is maddening at times, but it's nice when we can find these pockets of progress, and also more so the ability to, you know, give yourself some mental relief over it, because it's so tormenting sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's all done by yourself. Like, no one else is putting this pressure on you.
No, not at all. Nobody has.
It's like I said with me in drawing, no one's putting any pressure on me to do any art whatsoever except me. I could just go, you know what? I'm just not going to do art ever again, and just walk away from it, and no one is going to really give me a bunch of guff for it. You know,
Yeah.
like, it's like, well, okay. Meanwhile, in my head, you know, I'll be laying flowers on the grave, and it'll say Brian's art, and, you know, like it's this big production. And you know, everyone will be standing around going, oh, it's such a waste, as they throw dirt on it, you know.
So that's about what's going on in my world.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, I'll go next. So not a whole bunch of things of, like, it's been a lot of same old, and which is good and bad. You know, it's good because routine and consistency is always a good thing. You know, and especially for me, it's always been very consoling and comforting having good routines and getting things organized and straight and everything. So I've been doing a lot of, you know, work, and then and family stuff. My mom is moving up north to be with us, be near my brother and I. So been kind of talking with her a lot. Helped her find her condo that she's going to be moving into up here. So doing a lot of that type of stuff. And it's really great to be of service. It was just another kind of reminder to, it's just nice to be of service to others and to really change the focus. Because so often, especially right now with the isolation and not being able to go out and not being able to do a whole bunch of stuff other than kind of work and then home, you get very self-focused, and it's good to have these opportunities, at least, you know, for me, to look outside myself and think of somebody else and really kind of focus on that. So I've been doing a lot of that type of thing, which has been really good. It's been really positive and a good influence. One thing that did happen, which was kind of interesting, is I was feeling very, I'm trying the right words for it. My self-confidence was really getting in my way, and I was kind of getting behind, just feeling very I hate to say the word lonely because that's not quite it, but just there wasn't maybe isolated. I was just feeling very isolated and needing to kind of get out, needing to do things. And I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, don't really have a lot of outlets for that right now. But I decided to put some feelers out and do some things, and it was interesting the responses I got back, and it was surprising because my self-confidence didn't allow me to expect others to respond to my feelers. You know, in my head, I had already planned the outcome, and the outcome was, why am I going through all this work? Because the outcome is going to be this. It's going to be not a lot of responses or people, letting me down and all this other stuff. Instead of buying into that, I fought against it, and I did it anyways. And, and I got some really great, awesome responses back. And, and some surprising things, that some people just, they stepped up. And it really helped to kind of reframe or redefine for me that the whole message of don't plan the outcome, don't sit in the outcome, sit in the journey, sit in the, in the path, and really just focus on what you are doing and let the outcome take care of itself. It's like, the more we try to plan the outcome, the more we try to sit in the outcome and say, no, this is what's going to happen. I think the more we can get lost and frustrated when things don't go that way, instead of leaving ourselves open for exploration and to see what happens. Take chances. Don't automatically assume that this is going to be the way it's going to be. Kind of throw yourself out there and do stuff. So,
well, going back to what Heno said, be fearless. That's
yeah. Exactly. And I think especially I was talking with someone online just the other day about this, and they really get kind of stuck sometimes by their posts and things that they want to say, and then second guess themselves after the fact. And, what are people going to think of me? What's, people going to say and things like that. And we started having that conversation, and, we all do it. It's a very, very common thing. We all second guess ourselves, and we all, have some sense of desire to be accepted. So, which means, not wanting people to criticize us and talk about us in negative ways. So it was interesting having that conversation with her and really kind of, fleshing it out and helping her, in consequently helping myself see that it's the whole fearless aspect, that you kind of just need to be you. And then somebody posted not too long after that, that don't pretend to be someone else, because that will fade. If you are you, the right people will gravitate towards you. So you don't have to seek them out. They will come to you if you are truly, honestly being who you want to be. And I think that really kind of just resonated with me. I'm like, you know what? And I paraphrased, and they did a much better job at wording, but kind of get the point. But yeah, it's just been kind of a little bit of an introspective last couple of weeks, I guess, more than anything else.
Well, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as, like you said, as long as you're not, renting too much space in your head or giving too much space in your head to negative introspection, like, and it's tough because, like you said, if you're feeling isolated, it's easy for a person's brain to start going down that road instead. So that's definitely not where you want to go.
And I've been pretty good about, I'm still having a lot of different anxieties and, a lot of head stuff, and I know that most of it is in regards to being isolated and then, not being able to get out, not being able to socialize with people and stuff. And the whole balance of life is off right now, but that's the way it is for most people.
Yeah.
So I know but I'm trying to be very open, and I haven't been as socially active on Twitter or on the platforms, but I'm trying, those that are getting concerned, I try to make sure that I identify what's going on and also, let them know, it's like I'm just kind of in my head. I need to isolate a little bit. I am fine, in that type of thing, and just kind of letting them know what's going on and keeping them in the loop, which is not something that I've been known to do in the past. I kind of disappear.
Yeah.
So,
well, I that's something that a lot of people don't understand, and it's hard to accept, is that disappearing is a coping mechanism for a lot of people, and it's frustrating. It's super frustrating, and I know it, and that's why I warn people, like, as I talk with them and stuff, I'll be like, hey, there's times where I just become distant, and I don't mean to, it just happens, and the sad part for me is that it's really easy for me to do. It's really easy for me to just cut people off, and it's had its moments where it's been beneficial, but most of the time I would not see that as a beneficial trait. That's, if anything, to me, it's more scary than anything, because I could easily push someone away. I don't mean to push away, or not even just push away, but just walk away from is a better way of putting it. Because I don't even put the effort into, like, pushing them away, because I don't realize that I'm doing it, So, it's very important to keep people in the loop, especially if you do recognize you're the type that may do those kind of things, like you putting that effort in means a lot to a lot of people, because literally just the little, hey, I'm just in my head right now, but I'm good, I'm okay, means a ton to a lot of people, and that also lets them know that, you care about them, and it's a weird, like, that you care that they care also, kind of a situation. So I hear you on that, because I've tried to get a lot better about that, but I know I still do it, and I'm still bad about it. Like, there'll be times where I'll do it on, again, like you said, like with Twitter or whatever, where I just won't bother with it for a few days, and then I'll come back, and I've just never been the, hey, I'm going away for a few days, and it's fine if people do. I'm just not that person, I'm not the type to, like, at a party, you just be like, where'd Brian go? Versus like, bye guys, like that's the best way I can put it, is I'm just more the type to, just kind of leave.
Well, in my head, to kind of give people a little, pull back the curtain a little bit of what goes on in my mind, I don't see why people would care. And and that's the toughest part about it.
See, my brain tells me that I'm assuming that they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why would they care? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why would they care if I'm disappearing for a few days? Mm. Why, they probably won't even notice.
Exactly.
There's enough people out there, enough going on and stuff. They wouldn't even think twice. Why would they?
Mm-hmm. Or even worse, it'd be like, well, I wouldn't care if they disappeared for a couple days. Like,
Just to say, on the flip side, most of the people that I'm reaching out to and stuff, I notice when they disappear for a few days.
Right.
And I would care enough to reach out and say, hey, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So why is it so hard for me to believe and accept that others feel the same way
Yeah.
about me.
That's a self-esteem issue is what that is. Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's where mine is on it, is like you said. And that exactly right there would be the reason why, like I said, I'm more the type to just leave than go tell everyone goodbye, because it's like, you know, they don't care, you know, like they're having fun, they're doing whatever. I'm just going to leave, you know, like whatever. And then the next day, or by the time you get home, everyone's like, where the hell did you go? You know, like, what, why didn't you say goodbye? I'm like, oh, I didn't think, you know, like, oh, I didn't think it was a big deal, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's been a lot of that stuff, but it's good stuff. Yeah, there's really nothing too crazy going on. Coming up on the big T, so big Thanksgiving's coming around the corner. So should be some family stuffs. Hopefully nothing.
Terrible
but
idea.
possibly something.
Yeah.
I know. It's a horrible idea, but we're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Possibly out in the
America.
barn this year.
Yeah. Just, you know, you just do it in your barn and space everybody out like 20 feet, you know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Put up plexiglass
Everybody
dividers.
has their own little circle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe put us all in bubbles.
Hazmat suits for everyone. Yeah, exactly.
Hazmat suits, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes. So lots of fun craziness coming up. To be interesting.
Yeah.
But I guess that's all I have. How about you, Brian?
I went yesterday to get an eye exam, which I haven't had in a couple of years, you know, and whatever. And it's funny because, like, I have zero anxiety about this because I've wore glasses since I was like 4. I'm very used to all this kind of stuff and whatever. And, you know, I go yesterday and it was weird though. Like, I'm talking with the, oh shoot, I forgot what her exact title is. Anyway, we'll just say the doctor, right? So I'm talking with her, and she actually was telling me that from last time to this time, I actually read further down the list with my left eye, which is my bad eye. So I was very surprised, you know, and she was also, because, you know, it's a little weird that I did that, but hey, whatever. But, you know, everything was good and whatever. And it was cool. I had a nice conversation with her about what is the cause of my left eye being bad. Because for most of my life, I was just told by the eye doctors, it's like, oh, you just have a lazy eye. And it's like, well, I'm the type that telling me you have a lazy eye, that, like, tell me more about it. Like, I want to know why, what causes it, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I've looked it up online, but I was looking for more of a, like, a kind of not a definitive answer, but when you know how it is, like when you look up symptoms or something online, a lot of times there's like a million different, you know, here's what causes this. Oh, well, this also can cause it. So can, you know, and it's like, I'm just looking for like, what's causing mine, you know, like what is it, you know? So she told me, and that was kind of cool to learn. And, you know, that it's actually kind of that your brain just never develops using both eyes, because one is weaker from the beginning when you're developing, so your brain just starts leaning on that one. And that's why I had to wear a patch when I was a kid, because in most kids that have a similar condition have to wear a patch for a while, because it forces your brain to use the eye that's the weaker eye, in the hopes that it will even it out to some extent. And, you know, like mine did not even them out, but you know, she's like, it was probably way worse before you wore the patch, you know, and she goes, and if we catch it when people are young, she's like, sometimes you can get to where you can get back to like 20/20 vision, in that eye. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, you know, doesn't work for everybody, but you know, you try because you want to. But you know, it was cool. Like she was telling me why, like my eye, I've always had, essentially at any time I can have double vision. Like I can literally feel my left eye move and I start seeing double. And, you know, she was telling me that, like, you know, if I can force my eye to do it, but it's like sometimes I'll just notice that it starts doing it. And she made a comment that, you know, she goes, if you feel that way, she's like, whatever you're doing, she's like, stop, because your eyes are fatigued and the muscles are tired and they need a break. She's like, so if you start to see double vision, you know, she goes, first of all, she's like, if you weren't wearing your glasses, she's like, put your glasses on, because that's the point of the glasses, is to, you know, fix the problem for me. So, you know, it was just a nice conversation with her, and it was cool because, you know, they weren't very busy because of COVID, and, you know, so, because I even asked her, I said, do you have a couple minutes to, you know, talk to me about that? And she goes, oh yeah. She's like, we don't have another person in here for like 20 minutes. So I was like, cool. You know, it was nice to not, again, anytime you go to any appointment and you're not like, oh, hey, get out of here. You know, we got someone else coming in 2 minutes, you know, like it's kind of nice. But it was really frustrating because I got over to the picking out a new pair of glasses, because, you know, my insurance every couple of years will pay for a pair of frames and the base glasses. Like, they won't give me any fringe or you know, frills or bells or whistles, but I get, like, you know, here's some lenses and here's some frames, basically. But the woman was like, well, what are you looking for? And I told her, I said, I really like the ones I wear. I said, but they sit on my nose, which puts pressure on my sinuses. I said, I'd really like a pair that's just a little wider that really sits on my nose the way they should. She walks over and comes back, and the first pair she hands me, I put them on, and I'm like, oh my God, these are perfect. They sit on the sides like I want. They don't push in on my temples because that can trigger migraines. And I'm like, sweet, you know, and the frames are covered by my insurance. So I'm like, score, you know. And then I remembered the other stuff, which is, because my prescription's so strong in my left eye, I need, basically, when I was a kid, I had a big, thick lens in my left, on the left side, and my right side basically had a piece of plastic because I barely had a prescription in my right eye. And my glasses used to sit crooked all the time because of the weight. And even when they would bend the frames to kind of make them sit right, over time they would just shift because they're, you know, they're disproportionate. And I'm like, oh man. And, you know, the insurance company, like the one I have anyways, the insurance I have won't pay for that. It doesn't pay for the anti-glare. And it's like, it makes me angry. Because first of all, it's like, I don't, you know, I'm like, at first I'm like, I don't have a way to pay for this stuff. And I kind of need this stuff. I look at a computer or my phone a lot. I need that anti-glare. The polycarbonate lenses, and I forgot there's something else. But anyway, that's what makes my glasses sit right on my face so that they don't shift to the left all the time. So it looks like I don't know how to wear my glasses, you know. Also, when they shift like that, the prescription's not sitting where it's supposed, you know, it's not going to be as beneficial to my eye. So I'm like, man, you know, because I'm sitting there and it's just like, this just sucks. You know, like, there's just no way about it, you know, and I'm like, but it's like, well, I got to get this prescription. So I was like, well, you know, and I figured it out. I'm getting them. But I'm sitting there going, you know, it always angers me when, like, I thought for years and years, and I've seen it more and more now, and it's cool that it's coming around, but like how a lot of insurance companies wouldn't give you a discount or pay for a gym membership. And I always thought that was the dumbest thing. Because it's like, well, if you pay for a gym membership, if somebody goes to the gym, they work out, and they're kind of staying healthier, getting some exercise, that saves the insurance company money in the long run most of the time, because a healthier lifestyle means less problems, whether it's surgeries down the road or, you know, diabetes or whatever. And I never understood it. Now I'm seeing there are a lot of insurance companies, I guess, that do a discount or reimbursement or, you know, something like that. And I was thinking that with the eyeglasses too. And I know a lot of insurance companies just have terrible vision insurance. But it was like the polycarbonate lens I get because they see it as a cosmetic, you know, and that one I get, but the anti-glare I don't get, because that helps reduce eye strain. That helps reduce fatigue, and it's like, this isn't just the blue coating looks cool. This is actually a functional, like, thing that helps you be more productive at work, but it's better for your eyes. So I'm like, I don't understand how it boggles my mind how things like that don't get paid for. It's like, you'll give me frames. I already have frames. I can't go, hey, how about I don't get new frames, but I get these other things instead. You don't get that option, And it's like, so I can't even save money by going, well, just put the new prescription in these frames. That saves me no money because my insurance will straight out pay for the frames. It's like, ugh. So I get so frustrated at that stuff, and I find it's so hard for me to let it go. And because it's inefficient, and I've talked on here before about how inefficiency angers me. But it just feels wrong, because it's such a, I don't know. It's just, again, it's like gym memberships. Gym memberships aren't that expensive. And again, I think, you'd see a lot of people use them if they were provided or at least supplemented by your insurance. Like, even if they were like, hey, we can get you like half off or $10 a month off or whatever it is, and again, I'm seeing more of it now, so that's great. But same with the glasses like this. It's like, really, you're not going to do the anti-glare when everyone and their mother stares at computers and laptops and iPads and phones like all the time now? I feel like those should just be standard. This doesn't feel like back in the day when you got, power windows in a car, like. So anyway, long rant on, the inefficiencies of insurance, which isn't, new, but it just really, it just kind of chapped my hind parts the rest of the day. Like, it's just the rest of the day, I'm just like, about it, because it just feels like it should be covered. And, the polycarbonate lens part, I'm like, oh, geez, I'm just thinking how many poor kids have got to go through what I went through. And it's funny because, there's going to be people older than me that if they hear this, they're going to be like, they didn't even have those when I was a kid. Oh, you had to wear the Coke bottles, like, at least but I didn't get the option for a while, there was a long time where I had a giant lens. So, but I think part of it also filtered into the fact that, money has gotten tight for me again. And again, whenever it does, I immediately find myself spiraling. And it's really, really frustrating that it's something I essentially, like, I can control it only to an extent, but there is an element of it that once, like the glasses, right? I go in there and it's like, and they're like, oh, yeah, it'll be $160 out of pocket. And I'm like, but huh? Like, and I'm supposed to pull that out of which orifice because I don't work, like, and I'm like, well, can I make payments? Oh, yeah, no, you have to pay up front. I'm like, okay, well, people do realize that not everybody can just pull $160 out of their pocket, we'll say. It's like, so, yeah, whatever. But anyway, like I said, I figured it out. I'm borrow the money from somebody and I'll just pay them back as I can. I'll make payments to them instead of the company, and I'll be able to get the glasses that I need and whatever. Because I do have an updated prescription, so it's not like I'm just getting a second pair of glasses. I'm getting a pair with, updated lenses and stuff. What's funny though is the woman kind of skirted around that. She's like, next time you come in, she's like, we're probably going to start talking about, at some point in the next few years, you might need like progressive lenses or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, that's it? And I was like, yeah. I told her, I was like, I have zero ego when it comes to my glasses. Like, I'm not, oh no, I'm getting old. I don't care. If it helps me see better, bring it on, you know?
Mhm.
So just as long as it doesn't make me look like I'm, looking through giant giant panes of glass or, old Coke bottles, like I said, But I told her, I was like, I've been wearing glasses since I'm 4. I've been through it all. I've been teased for them. I've lived through now to the point where it's cool to wear glasses. It's. I was like, I've already seen basically all of it, so I don't care. Like I said, I'm very much at the point in my life that's like, does this improve the quality of my life? Awesome, bring it on. Like, let's do this. So and she goes, oh, I wish more people would be like you. And I'm thinking, yeah, because I got a brother who needs readers and he won't even get readers, and I'm like, dude, the dollar store sells them. Like, literally, just go get yourself a cheap pair of readers and keep them with you. Instead, he's giving it the old, stretch your arm way out and, and it's like, what I need to do maybe is record him doing it and show it to him. Be like, this is what you look like in public. Versus just putting a pair of glasses on.
Sorry. Well, I go on the 13th, so
yeah,
right. Yeah, I'm with you, a habitual glasses wearer for a good portion of my life. So.
I actually prefer them. I like the way I look with my glasses more than without. Because I've had the option over the years to just get a contact lens for my left eye for the longest time. But that just seems like more pain in the butt than it's worth when I can just put a pair of glasses on,
That would be weird.
The same way.
Yeah, but I'd get double use out of them because they'd give me the same prescription in the two, so they'd last a long time. But it was like, no, I don't like putting stuff in my eye, or we've gone over this when I talked about giving myself my testosterone injections. So, you know what? I forgot that too, real quick. That update on that was I went back. My hemoglobin level finally got back to normal. And
cool.
So I was able to start testosterone again. And amazingly, go figure, I haven't been as sleepy since.
Hey.
Now, I'm still sleeping a lot, but it isn't the same to where, how I mentioned before, I was like, by like 9:30, I'm exhausted. And it's like, I'm finding myself falling asleep earlier, but for me, earlier means like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. But that's still not, I was staying up till like 8-9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And when you do that, in order to get 8 hours of sleep, that puts you well into the day. So when I get up, and again, you have to be careful this time of year around here because we start getting dreary. And, you wake up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, the sun's gone for the day, basically. Not down. It's just, it's just blah outside. And it just saps any energy you start with, So I always try really hard this time of year to set my sleep schedule a little differently so that I'm not missing out on what little amount of sun we might get. But I was really happy that I could start that back up and everything. And I'll tell you though, the weirdest part for me and the thing that made me the most nervous was going into the hospital because the doctor I see is in a hospital. And, again, I'm fortunate enough that you just walk in, barely turn to the left, and there's the elevator. So I don't have to go through the waiting room at all. I don't have to go through like a sea of people or anything. But it was funny. I hit the button for the elevator, and, when it opened, there was like, I don't know, 8 people in the elevator, and I'm like, ugh, like I immediately like felt myself, pull back because I'm like, that is too many people in that elevator.
No way.
To the point that I waited for the other elevator because I was also like, I don't know what might still be in that elevator. I'm going to let it have a minute to breathe. So when the other one opened, there was no one in it. But it's funny because for all I know, 8 people just went up in that one. But I didn't see it. So it didn't happen, But of course, they test your temperature and before you go in, and I had a mask on and all that stuff. But it was still just strange. but there's definitely, not that I'd linger in the hospital anyway, but it was like, as soon as I was done out that elevator, I'm like, right out that door, like I am not hanging around here. I wouldn't anyway, because we're hitting flu season. So even if COVID didn't exist, I don't want to be around a hospital for very long during flu season either, because, who knows what's walking through there. But yeah, it was funny because I'm standing there, like, as I'm doing this stuff, and I'm like, I'm so paranoid about this, but I'm also like, but I've got a reason to be, like, I need to be this way a little bit, like, yeah, I didn't have to let that elevator, go and wait, but at the same time, like I said, there was still a crowded elevator, and I don't know what's hanging in that elevator or what was touched,
Harvard's recommendation is one person per 64 square feet.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely not 8 in an elevator.
Could be in an elevator.
I was like, ooh. And no, don't get me wrong, 4 of them were all together, but still it was like, why were the other 4 in there? Like, who was like, you know what, let's go ahead and crowd in here. I would have been like, you know what, I'm going to hit the stairs, because I'm only going to the 3rd floor. So, I'm not built for stairs, but I would do that before I get in an elevator with 8 people. That's for sure right now. So, yeah, wow. As soon as I got upstairs, though, there's a bathroom on the way to my doctor's office, so I washed my hands in there and whatever, not, because, I touched the elevator buttons or whatever. I washed my hands real quick and then went in there, and, and they got hand sanitizer everywhere and whatever. What was really funny, because I'm going to a urologist, right? So every room every office in there has a bottle of lube open, sitting out, because sometimes a urologist needs some lube on their finger. And so I go in there, and it was funny because there was also a thing of hand sanitizer that was right there. And in my head, I'm going, boy, I hope they don't get that mixed up. Because either you're going to have really slippery hands, or, the other's not going to be good for going in. That's going to dry up, and that's not going to be pleasant for anyone. So, and I'm laughing as the doctor comes in, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Oh, you're in a good mood." And I tell him, and he cracked up. And he goes, "I said the same thing to one of the nurses earlier. That, boy, I hope I get I don't grab the wrong thing." So, yeah. I mean, they don't look anything alike. One's a pump thing, the other's like a big tube of thing that basically just says lube on it. So, yeah, anyway, so that's basically been, my week. It's been mostly, the money thing obviously bothers me, whatever, but it's like, I got glasses coming, which I'm always excited about, even though they look very similar to the ones I'm wearing. It's like, if you just space these out just a little bit, they look pretty much the same, so it's not like I'm going to have a drastically different look or something. But, so I'm always excited about that. And, tomorrow I'm going for my flu shot and a doctor's appointment. And, so it's, it feels good that I'm getting back to, like Jen mentioned, with the your schedule and your rhythm, it's good that I'm going, okay, I've got the eye doctor out of the way. I've gone to the urologist for that again. We're getting that going again. I'm going to the doctor. Next week I have therapy. The week after is my psychiatrist, so it's like things are kind of cycling back to for my, especially my mental health, but it's like, I feel like I'm cycling back where I need to be, especially this time of year, because I mentioned the dreariness, it's sad takes over this time of year. So, it feels good to kind of be getting back into some of that stuff. So, yeah. So I think that's it for me.
Alrighty. Well, I'm thinking we're probably close to an hour.
Yeah, we're over.
Yeah. Figured. So it was a good old-fashioned catch-up episode, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we've got some fun stuff on the table for next week. We'll just save that over.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, I don't even know where to go from here. All right. Yes, I do.
If you want to continue the conversation with Jen.
Thank you. If you want to continue the conversation with us, You know what to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com, thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com, email, and our website, of course, respectively. If you'd like to reach me, you can reach me on the Twitters at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can also hear me on Shake the Sheets. It's a pop culture talk podcast. I can talk today.
I'm going to tell you, what you need to do is drop the word talk from that. Because then if you mess up, it won't sound so bad. You just say it's a pop culture podcast, but if it's a pop podcast, it doesn't. But when you mess up and then you put the word talk in there, it's like, wow, you can't even make it through that. Like, why am I... See the problem? Just got to throw the word talk out. Yeah.
Well, we have actually been on hiatus for the last couple weeks, but
no.
we will be dropping some new podcasts coming up shortly.
Right.
And Hanno, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Hanno, also L Hummingbird. And you can find me on Facebook, Hanno Heiter, Facebook Messenger, and if my song is done, I will be posting it.
Ooh, that's a big step.
That's a commitment there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and check out Moving the Needle podcast if you're into movies, because that's what we talk about is movies.
Yep. Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to the RoboCop. I can't remember what movie you compared it to now.
Troopers.
Yeah, Starship Troopers. Yes, thank you. I just blanked. I'm like, duh. Oof.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was a good listen. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at Salty Language, or at Salty Language, or I'm sorry, at Salty_language on Twitter, or saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, and it's me and my best friend just yapping about whatever pop culture, current event thing kind of pops into our heads, or silly news stuff, even though it's much harder to find silly news than it used to be. But anyway, we have quite the time on there. So yeah, please go check that out. You can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. We're part of the Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And I think that's everything. So please reach out to your friends. Make sure they're doing okay. And if you're not doing okay, please reach out to somebody and ask for help, or just let them know that, or like Jen said, if you're stepping away from social media or something like that, make sure you at least let your close friends on there know, because there are a lot of people that care, even though it's on a weird social media thing. Even if you haven't met in real life, it's, there's a lot of people that still really care, even if your brain says they don't. Because as we've talked before, our brains are filthy liars.
Yes, they are.
And if you don't believe me, go check out a show called Brain Games. And it's just where, for the first couple seasons, basically all they did was point out how our brains are filthy liars. Anyway, so yeah. And then of course, if you can, please exercise kindness. Show, just be nice to people. We're all dealing with a whole lot of stress right now, especially with, couple weeks to the election. People are very heightened and stuff. So, and if you're going out to the polls, please be safe, and also, please be nice to others, because again, we're all going through this. So please be as kind as possible to people. Plus, it's just good to put that energy out there.
All right. With that, everybody go out there and have the best week you possibly can. Spread the love, not the COVID. And don't forget to wiggle those toes.